Hey there, everybody. I tried to do a Facebook Live on my phone today because something came to me and I thought it's time to share. I had to stop what I was doing and get down here and create this video. And the reason I had to just stop what I was doing, I know that's not very good to do when you're focused on one thing, and that's what I'm trying to really do lately is focus on one thing and then go to the next after. But as I was sorting out old clothes and purging and, putting the piles of keepers, giveaways, and garbage, I always like to feed my brain with great information, and I used to in the past just crank the tunes and dance along with it, and sometimes I still do that. But today I turned on an 8-minute podcast and was going to go to another podcast right after and just put that great stuff in my brain. So today I actually put on something from Wayne Dyer, the late Wayne Dyer, which we all, if you haven't heard of him, he's amazing. But if you have heard of him, you probably love him as much as I do. But the podcast that he was talking on today was about inspiration and like how to inspire and also empower people. And the lady that was actually on the phone was a Toronto teacher, and she was saying how as a teacher she was really hoping that she could inspire and empower her students even more than she was doing. So Dr. Wayne Dyer actually talked about the simple way to do that, and I just wanted to share this message with you today because I also want to tie it into a few other things. I can certainly share the 8-minute podcast as well, but some of the things that I took from it, I just wanted to share and reshape a little bit of the journey that I've been on, because I know that many of you are on the same or similar path as I am, and it doesn't happen overnight, but I just want to say keep going, keep moving in that direction. And when I talk about the value of free to be ourselves, free to be me, it makes me really excited to know that the company that I've aligned myself with actually has this little handy book, What Drives Us. And one of the very first ones, actually the first one, is health, eat it, love it, share it. And I love that message. But the second one is freedom. And what does freedom mean to a lot of people? Obviously, it can be time freedom, it can be financial freedom, it can be freedom in your body to move the way you want to move, to feel the way you want to feel. There's a lot of ways to be free. But the one area that I didn't really get until this past year is the whole concept of being free to be me. And for those of you who are maybe going through that personal growth transformation right now, about really honoring yourself, loving yourself, respecting yourself, and knowing that it is not conceited to do so. It is not being, so self-absorbed. It is actually about being able to give more of yourself to others when you give to yourself, like putting that oxygen mask on, right? So one of the things that made me really see where I was headed was last year, or actually 2 years ago now, almost a year and a half ago, November 22nd, 2014, I went to an empowerment event for women. And it was in a little tiny town near my home, and I sat in a room with maybe 10 other women and an amazing person, Mickey. Her name is Mickey. She's a great friend now. I love her. But she was the teacher that day. She was the guide for us. And she gave us these trusty little books. And I just love this book. It was just all blank. Everything was blank pages. And she asked us to put one word across the front page. And for me, it kind of was 2 words, because as much as I wanted to have trust as my main word, I really wanted to dive deep into trusting myself. So trust self became my word that day in November of 2014. Today, as I'm doing this, it is March 15th, 2016. So that's why I said it's, about a year and a half later. And so much has happened in that year and a half. So what I just want to say to you right now is if you're just in the place right now where you're making a decision to start really honoring yourself, really trusting yourself, really loving and respecting yourself, don't give up when it doesn't happen overnight. It is a muscle. It's a new muscle that we need to build. So please give yourself the time and the patience to go through those steps every single day. It's not going to be easy. I know it wasn't for me anyway. I'm just going to say from experience, and I'm still working on it every single day. It hasn't been a moment of, yay, I've arrived. because that's not what it's like. It's not like you've arrived and you just know. For me, it's a constant, everyday, small step process. So in this book, I mean, we did a lot of great things in this book that day, which I'll share with you at another time. But for today's purpose, the whole idea of being free to be me, I've recognized how much this really helps people that I'm working with, people that I'm friends with, people that I love and admire and cherish. I just want to be that person who loves people for where they're at. And we all have made mistakes. We've all done things that we probably regret doing, but that doesn't make us bad people. I think that every single one of us has the ability to change if we choose to. And that's the difference between somebody telling you that you need to change versus actually knowing that you want and deserve to change, are very different things. And it's not until the day comes that you make that decision for yourself. So this podcast that Wayne Dyer shared with this teacher in Toronto, she really asked the question of, how do I help these students find even more purpose, I guess, in class. Like a lot of kids, you can just imagine if you were once a student, which most of you have been, I'm sure, at some point in your life. Some of you are right now. Some of you are even teaching students. But one of the things that Wayne Dyer talked about was the fact that as a teacher, a lot of times teachers who are inspiring and who are encouraging and really want to lift their students up rather than make them feel low and like they're not enough, is that he said a lot of teachers will do something to make the classroom fun, light, enjoyable to go to, so that every time, it could be the most boring subject area, but in order for that to become much more exciting for people, it becomes a place of, they want to go to the class, not because necessarily the subject is exciting, but because the teacher brings that to life, the subject area or whatever. But the teacher also builds so much belief into the students, so much opportunity, so much growth, as far as you can do this, you put your mind to this, you can do this. So really that encouraging person. And Dr. Wayne talked about how he was a school counselor for 4 years in a Michigan high school. And when he said that, every single student, every type of student, no matter what their background was, no matter what their beliefs were, no matter what their self-esteem levels were, they came to him for advice. And he could talk to them on a personal scale, on that level of caring about that person and seeing them for who they were. And he actually said that, let me just see if I've got this here. He created a space, and this is something for all teachers. I hope, I know many of the teachers that I've worked with in the past and the teachers that teach my own kids, I know they do this really well, and this is such a simple thing, but creating a space where it is okay to be who you are. And I'll say that again, create that space where it is okay to be who you are without judgment, without judgment. And I still remember to this day when I was a teacher in the elementary system, very first day of school, teachers get, and I don't know if this is in every school, but in this school in particular, we would get the class list. And there were times when I remember being told that if you see a red mark beside the name, that is a student that is has some behavioral concerns. If you see someone with a yellow, they have some learning difficulties. A green, obviously, great listener, does amazing in school, is very academic. And I remember looking at that and saying, I don't even want to know who my behaviors are. I really don't. And I was a new teacher. I mean, a lot of new teachers would be like, oh, I need to know who's in my class, how many beds do I have? And at that time, I remember saying, I don't want that. And I don't know if I asked somebody to remove the stickers or how it all worked, but I said, I don't want to know. I really don't want to know what the labels are of these kids. And I still remember, it was a grade 4 or 5 split. And there was a boy that sat in the very front row. I let them choose their own seats, and he sat in the very front row that day. And there were times when I would come over to him and encourage him and say, you're doing so awesome. Like, way to go. I'm really proud of you. And I could see that he was kind of trying to cause a bit of conflict in the class. And he was, you know, and it was just his personality. He was a bit of an introvert, but also wanted to kind of be out there and be almost mean to other kids. So he was probably going through some of his own stuff. And when I would come over and encourage him and praise him and recognize the positive things that he was doing, he said one thing to me, and I remember this. He said, "No teacher ever talks to me like that." And I said, "What do you mean no teacher ever talks to you like that?" And he says, "All teachers always tell me to stop talking and to go to the back of the class, and or beside the teacher's desk." And I was like, well, right now you are actually really close to my desk, and I think that's awesome. But you're doing great things. Why would I say those types of things to you? And he says, "Because I'm a bad kid." And I just remember thinking, my heart sank, because I remember thinking this kid has so much potential, and he's been labeled up until this grade 5 year. And rightfully so. I understand teachers. I understand how hard it is, because I've been there with behaviors that you can't even, like, I had kids that used to throw chairs, and as much as I tried, I couldn't physically help that poor child. He needed more help outside the education system. But for the average student that is causing some trouble, or maybe not listening that well, or maybe not able to sit still, I still think there's so much more we can do for them without just labeling them as a troubled student or someone who causes that friction. So when I heard Wayne Dyer talk about this and how he creates that space for people to be who they are, it really confirmed to me that the group that I started for my own business, called Leading with Love, is a one team mentality, number one. And it is a place where I did want to create that space to allow people to be who they were, to show up as they are without feeling they have to fit into a keyhole, you know, that box. Because I find a lot of times in any profession, whether it's teaching, policing, I'm sure every single profession out there, even though I haven't had experience with them, in some way, shape, or form, we are shown or programmed to be a certain way. And I want to get rid of that. I want everyone to show up as who they are, authentically them. And that's why I created Leading with Love, as that space to be ourselves without any fear of judgment or ridicule or any kind of criticism to correct what they're doing, because I don't believe anyone needs to be corrected. I think that we all have a choice in how we show up in this world. And another thing that Wayne Dyer shared, and I just want to recite this as well, and I haven't actually looked it up online, but it's a poem by E. Cummings. And it says, "To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best night and day to make you just like everybody else means to fight the greatest battle there is to fight and to never stop fighting." And he really recommended to this teacher to always let people be themselves without judgment. Let them show up. Let them, you know, find their own true value. And because of the labels, I think a lot of kids are owning up to those labels. And even adults, I mean, when we're told a certain thing time and time again, we begin to believe that about ourselves, right? Like, I was told all my life how shy I was. And I even started saying that to my daughters. "Oh, you're so shy." And then I realized that, oh my gosh, that's actually a label. That is something that eventually, when a person hears it long enough, they're going to live into that place, right? So I've decided that, yes, there might be times in my life that I'm shy, but I'm not a shy person as much as I used to believe I was. So he went on to say, be yourself first, number one. Be okay with who you are. And he talked about low self-esteem, because a lot of times we see adults, children, teenagers with low self-esteem. And he said, actually, what low self-esteem really is a lower self-concept of yourself, meaning that what do you believe about yourself to be true? And if you believe some negative, not very serving beliefs for you in the direction that you want to go, then that becomes your self-concept of yourself, your belief of yourself. And unless you're willing to change that, you're going to continue to just keep seeing the same things show up in your life. So he said, if you want to elevate your life, you really have to change the concept of yourself. And, you know, what you believe yourself, what you believe about yourself today is truth. But you can change that truth. You really can. Because, it's funny because I didn't know when I named my corporation See It When You Believe It, Inc. I did not know that Wayne Dyer wrote a book called You'll See It When You Believe It. It was after I incorporated that I actually recognized that, wow, that book actually has the same title. And it was just one of those things that I recognized that when I believe something, I will see it. I really will, because if I believe it, it's going to happen. There's no doubt about it. And right now here I'm wearing this shirt because I was actually doing a workout this morning, and I haven't been someone who's been very good at working out. However, the last week and a half, I've joined the Ice Body Challenge for my own self-love, self-respect, all that kind of stuff. And I made the decision that I no longer have to fit that mold that I was always telling myself that I don't do fitness and I don't work out, because that's what I believed to be true. But I made the decision to change that belief. And it had to start with the belief first. I honestly don't think that I would have started on the path to working out and getting better with fitness unless I was willing to change the programming in my brain first. And I think so many times in the past when I've self-sabotaged, I've actually started to work out first, but my mindset wasn't ready. And I would right back down to where I started, where I'd be like, yep, see, I just proved to myself I'm not someone that works out. I don't do fitness. So it starts from believing first, in my opinion. And I know that Dr. Wayne Dyer thought that way as well. So he says here, if where you are today, and I think I already said this, if where you are today is not where you want to be, physically, financially, mindset-wise, relationship-wise, your health, your fitness goals, anything at all in your life, your career, your business, on and on and on. We can have a lot of things that we don't like about where we're at. That is based on the choices we made because of what we believe to be true about us. And I know I've got a lot of work to do, because when I look at my financial situation right now, yes, I'm earning great money. Yes, my husband's earning great money, but yes, we are still in debt. And that can change with our belief level changing and shifting. So really, it's a matter of asking yourself the questions, guys. Where I am today, what do I believe about myself right now that has got me to where I'm at in this specific area? And sometimes it goes as far back as treating ourselves the way we wish to be treated first, by loving ourselves, caring about ourselves, honoring ourselves, respecting ourselves, and being ourselves. Because it all starts with us. And from there, anything is possible. And Dr. Wayne Dyer also talked about how we really do need to elevate our belief levels to understand that anything that we put our mind to is absolutely possible. It's right here at our fingertips. It's right here. But we are so afraid to let go of those limiting beliefs. We are so afraid to change the mindset. And it doesn't happen overnight. Remember I said, trusting myself started in November of 2014. And 2015 was an absolute brutal place. Like, I would not want to go back to 2015. I really wouldn't. The whole entire year felt so awful. As much as I know there were great parts in that year, it was the year of complete breakdown and I don't even know how to say it. I mean, just breakdown, burnout completely. And it was because I was trying so hard to trust myself, but I wasn't trusting myself. I wasn't trusting myself. I kept looking externally for answers, externally for permission, externally for approval, externally for acceptance. And I didn't give it to myself once until the fall, when I finally realized what I was doing to me. And when I recognized that, that's when I got the chance to change my belief about who I am and what I'm capable of. And from there, it became a road to self-discovery, self-transformation, and being able to now empower others like you to do the same. I know it's possible, guys. Don't give up on you. It begins there. I hope that you have a wonderful day and a great week ahead. And by all means, feel free to share this if you feel that somebody could really use these words today. Thanks.